Okay, so day 2 of Mishlei 23:9. In the ears of a Ksil do not speak, lest because he will disparage or scorn the intelligence of your words. Very straightforward pasuk. Reading wise, our questions were: what does it mean to speak into the ears of a Ksil? Why specify ears? Right? Like, why doesn't it say just don't speak to a fool, or don't speak to the heart of a fool, mind of a fool? What is implied by ears? 2, what are you saying exactly and why, or does it even matter? What is seichel in this context? Is there a significance in highlighting that these are your words as opposed to, you're not going to speak, I guess you could speak other people's words, but, is it saying specifically like words that you come up with? 3, what is Ksil in this context? 4, what is yavuz l'seichel milacha mean? How does he do this exactly? Like, is he going to mock them openly? Is he going to ridicule them in his mind? 5, why will the Ksil do this? 6, so what? Who cares if he disparages or scorns the intelligence of your words? Whom does this affect? Him, you, another party, something else. 7, what's the scenario? If this is even talking about a specific scenario? Is this addressed to a specific type of speaker or anybody? 8, what are the parameters of the advice? What are you supposed to do instead of doing this? How do you factor this in when speaking intelligent words in front of how do you factor this in when speaking intelligent words in front of the Ksil is inevitable? Okay, so we had one approach yesterday that we developed on our own based on the Tергum of Sadigon, which I want to modify a translation here, by the way. So benochos kal hadas al tadaber b'meshi yavuz lemus kal mitbracha. So we translated it yesterday: in the presence of a light-minded person, do not speak about that which he will disparage, a concept from your words which is not eloquent. So first of all, I just noticed, I guess I did not type this out when I was doing this. If you look at the Sadigon that you have in your packet, which is the translation, Kafach does point out on footnote 3, Tirgum kan Ksil achmak. Okay, so he translates Ksil as achmak, v'hu kal hadas, ve'enu kishar Ksil, but not like other Ksil. And so he does highlight what we kind of tried to figure out on our own yesterday. Ach bepirush kasav gimel aleph hey lamed kachol Ksil sh'b'sefer zeh. So in the Targum, he translates it differently, but in his Perush, which we read yesterday, he translates it the same as everyone else. So it's an interesting thing that even, I guess, his own Perush and Targum are not always consistent, or he speaks looser. But I was thinking when I was reading this, we'll go to his Perush in a second, but I think the better translation would be an intellectual lightweight. Someone who's just not able to be involved in weighty intellectual topics. Okay, so for his thing. Okay, so let's review the idea we had. So we said that a Ksil, according to Rabbeinu Yona, is like a veteran pleasure addict, someone who's overly attached to his pleasures. And the reason why he mocks seichel is it's not just seichel per se. It's not the square of a hypotenuse or E equals MC square or anything else involving squares. It's something that threatens his taivas. Okay, so I found support for this in the Malbim. Okay, first of all, I found a new methodological tool. The Malbim has a dictionary.
What?
Okay, called Ya'ir, which is available as a PDF.
We translate it?
No. But so if you want, we always talk about how the Malbim holds that there's no such things as synonyms in Hebrew, and everything has specific terms. So a Malbim dictionary, all right? What could be easier? So here he translates Ksil and Avil, which he's going to also do in our commentary. He says, Ksil is hanaloz midarche hachachma, someone who deviates from the ways of chachma, v'nimshach acharei hata'anukim mehergelobam, and he is drawn after pleasures due to his the fact that he is addicted to them, his habits in them. Af shiodea ki chaschatchim darko, even though he knows that his path is not proper. Hu hanikra Ksil, that's called a Ksil. And in contrast, an Avil, he says, I think we've talked about this in the past. Malbim has like a das yachid in terms of the definition of an Avil. He learns that Avil comes from the word ulai, which means maybe. So he says an Avil is a skeptic. Okay, no one else that I know of interprets Avil that way. This is like Malbim jargon. So he says Avil is hu hamistapik b'darchei hachachma. He's a skeptic about the ways of wisdom. Ukiver yigashish kir b'taraim. That must be a phrase from a pasuk. He's like a blind person groping at the walls in the afternoon. Ki b'choshech yelek, he walks in darkness, meaning even though there is light. V'nigzar mimilas ulai. It's derived from the word ulai, and then he explains it in the Hakdama to Mishlei. So I want to show you the Malbim's approach to Mishlei. I know I haven't reviewed our idea yet, but he half of the Malbim's approach to Mishlei, to this pasuk is like the approach we were taking. So ignore everything he says about the avil and also about he's going to make a distinction between seichel and chachma. Okay, but I think we see support here. So he says like this. First of all, in the Bira Milos, Ksil hu hanalos mechukei chachma mipnei ta'avaso. So like we just read, someone who deviates from chachma because of his taiva. So he says, I don't understand what he means because I also don't know what his shita is on bina or chachma. I know chachma holds you can't get through your own knowledge. Chachma means like received principles of knowledge, but from like that can't be proven. So he says, seichel is hibadlo min habina lamala. So he says, I differentiated this from bina above. Sheseichel hu koach chad, which I translate that as the capacity for clarity. Chad means like sharpness. Shabo ya'avur al devarim, that you can go over things. She'ein habina shaletes, which bina cannot like understand. Like bina can't go over. I don't know what he means. Ubo yavin gam chukei chachma. You can also use it to understand chachma. Okay, so what does this mean? So here's how he says our pasuk. And again, I want to focus specifically on the Ksil and the seichel milacha. Kvar hisbar sheyesh hevdel ben Ksil uben avil. We explained above that there is a difference between the Ksil and the avil. She'avil mistapek b'chukmei chachma. The avil is skeptical about the principles of chachma. Aval Ksil lifamim yeda chukei chachma. The Ksil sometimes knows the principles of chachma. Rak nalos mehem mipnei ta'avaso, but he deviates from them due to his taiva. V'chein ha'avil. Therefore, the avil. Im yesh efsharus levar lechukei chachma b'mofes. If you could, there is a possibility of proving to him the things of chachma, and hayachozer mivalto. Then he would retract from his foolishness. Lo kein Ksil, but Ksil won't do that. Sheboreach mina chachma hagam shida erka. He will flee from chachma even though he knows its value. Mipnei shechosemes bipnei tavaso, because it muzzles his taiva. Okay. So that's the part that I wanted there. So that's in line with what we were saying yesterday, which is that basically the reason why the Ksil will mock chachma is because it threatens his lifestyle. And for that reason, even if you're not even talking to him, even if it's within his earshot, then he'll like seize on that opportunity. He's compelled to attack chachma because it is a threat to his lifestyle. Just like I remember, is it lahavdil or is it not lahavdil? Rabbi Zucker told a story once about how I don't know, he was saying some sort of like idea in Torah, and like, I don't know, I think it was like some sort of like rational idea or something like that. And like some person who was like anti like rational Judaism just like attacked him, just like viciously attacked him, verbally. And Rabbi Zucker said like, when you're like walking in Manhattan and like you see like people who have like mental illnesses, like screaming about like the end of the world, and like you have to religious fanatic, like the apocalypse is now, and like you just kind of ignore them, right? You don't take it as like a threat. So he's like, why can't this guy, if this guy thinks that I'm really crazy, why can't this guy just like ignore me like a crazy person? It must be that there is something in what I'm saying that he senses is true and that he feels the need to attack. And obviously he's going about it the wrong way, but like he needs to attack this because he feels threatened. So that's why the Ksil can't just leave you alone. Like if he really had conviction in his lifestyle, right? That let's say he held that like taiva seeking is like the thing in life, and this guy who's like spending his life learning or doing mishlei is like wasting his life. He would feel sorry for you, or he would like ignore you. But he senses that like you've got something here, and so he's going to attack you, even if you're not even talking to him. And so what we said is that who cares? Well, if your goal in speaking these words of chachma is for someone who is receptive, and if this guy is going to taint the words or sully the message and ruin it for other people, so then you should not speak it in a way where he's going to like jump and attack it, because it's going to mess it up for other people. And we said it might even mess up for you, that you might be affected by his mockery. And I don't know if you've ever, a good example of this is like a really good comedian who makes fun of something in a subtle way. It can get into your head, and like for you to like feel self-conscious about holding the belief or something like that. And real mockery can do that. So it's like you're putting yourself and other people at risk. And if your objection is, yeah, but I care about the chachma. Well, if you really cared about the chachma, you wouldn't expose it to danger. Yeah.
Just a side thought very related to what you were saying.
Sure.
I remember I think you said this like a few years ago and it stuck with me. Similar thing with Avodah, the people who are Avodah Zarah feel very attacked whenever like you talk about ideas. In that someone who's Avodah Zarah, one who attacks ideas, they have this feeling like, oh, something's up with someone you are talking about.
Yeah, it's from I don't remember what number share was, but it's the appeal of the Zara.
Yeah.
It wasn't my idea.
Two versions of that one. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so then we read the Sadigon. Any other thoughts on that reviewing that idea? I think it was a good, solid idea. Yeah.
How are you using ear?
So we are using ear the way Sadigon does it, which is in his presence, meaning even if you're not talking to him, if he can hear you, then it's a danger. Yeah, which by the way, another example of this, I forgot if we mentioned this yesterday or if I was just thinking of it, is on the same would go for commenting publicly on like on social media or something like that, that's definitely within earshot of people who are going to mock your ideas. And if you really care about the ideas, then you'll convey this like properly, privately to the audiences who will be able to be receptive and not expose it to being mocked by everybody online. Now, again, sometimes, like all psukim and Mishlei, these are not absolute rules, right? Like sometimes the good that you'll do by putting a message out there is like the Rambam says. I mean, the Rambam says this in the beginning of the More Nevuchim, that I would rather wait, I'll get the quote because I love this quote. Is it my wall? Yeah.
It's a really good explanation about like that social media dynamic.
Yeah. And it is a what do you call it? Sometimes it is a tough judgment call. Yeah. 1,000. Yeah. Rambam says in the More Nevuchim, I forgot where in the More Nevuchim this is. I'll have to look up the source later. This is when he was writing to his student. When I have a difficult subject before me, when I find the road narrow and can see no other way of teaching a well-established truth except by pleasing one intelligent man and displeasing 10,000 fools, I prefer to address myself to the one man and to take no notice whatsoever of the condemnation of the multitude. I prefer to extricate that intelligent man from his embarrassment and show him the cause of his perplexity so that he may attain perfection and be at peace. Yeah, now, easy for the Rambam to say, but you saw what happened is they burned his books, right? So like, it's not like there's without consequence. It's just something you have to take into consideration here. And
it sounds like he's acknowledging it, though.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he's acknowledging it, and he's saying, but in this case, like I'll do it. But,
weigh the pros and cons.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You have to go into it with eyes wide open. Like you have to know that you're gonna.
If you don't know, it could be more hurtful.
Exactly.
Like, he was well aware.
Yeah.
It was ready for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah. Okay,
that's pretty cool.
So then, it's a great quote. Okay, so then we did the Perush of Sadigon, okay, which we didn't have time to analyze, but I want to do that right now. So he says, which again, let's treat this for all intents and purposes as separate from the Sadigon idea we just did, okay, even though he's reading it in the same way. Lo mana legamre miladaber bosne Ksil. Shlomo's not preventing you entirely from speaking in the words of Ksil. Ella, rather, he's saying, you should have different categories of speech, or different modes of speech, maybe is a better word, levels of speech. You should go into depth with people who are navonim, people who can understand at the level that they can understand it. The tafshitehu im, you should simplify it with skalim, with again, fools here, I don't think is the right word. I think ignoramuses is better. Ad heichan shetagia binasam, to the level where their bina reaches. Ukashem she'im dibarta im hachachamim b'devarim pshutim yizalzlu bach, and just as if you speak with chachamim in simple statements, simple words, then they'll disparage you. Kach im tadaber ba'omek im mi she'eno chacham lo yavinosam. So too, if you speak in deep words with someone who is not a chacham, then he will not understand them. So the thing that intrigued me about this is, so he's not saying this is a pleasure addict, Ksil. He's talking about an intellectual lightweight, and he's equating it with he's saying speaking intelligent words to a intellectual lightweight is the same type of mistake as speaking simple words to intellectual heavy hitters, So that intrigues me because the pasuk seems to only be emphasizing the one case, not the other. So the question is, what mistake do we have in common? What is the mistake in common between these two cases? And like, what is the Mishleic mistake here? Hold on just a second. I had one more. I just want to actually just give a couple examples just so we can work with the examples. So one common example you'll find is there are people who are like experts in their field. I especially have found this with like people who are like in the I guess you call them like the soft sciences or the social sciences, like philosophers or psychologists, who will speak in like highfalutin, sophisticated vocabulary and and they'll do this when they're giving like public speeches. Like I've seen people like at simchas, like giving like a Dvar Torah, and they'll like be like quoting all these sorts of, and so like that's one example I have in mind. And another example is my philosopher Rambam, Mortimer Adler, who lived a very long time. So all the books he wrote up until the 60s, he wrote for like professional philosophers and academics, and he realized that like people aren't like reading those things. So he rewrote all of his books for lay people.
Really?
Yeah. And so every book that he wrote up until then, there's like a corresponding one for lay people, but it's also like developed decades beyond what he did. And like, he just realized that if I really because his whole thing was he's claiming that philosophy is for everybody, yet he wasn't talking philosophy as if it were for everyone, because you can't read these sophisticated philosophical things. So he wrote it for everyone.
What's his definition of a lay person? Like how lay? Because like I could be much layer than.
The very fact they use that term shows that you're not ready for philosophy. No, that's his. I don't know the exact definition, but I know the standard he used was he said that like there's a certain thing called this is actually what Rabbi Moskowitz says about Mishlei also, that in certain areas of knowledge you need specialized knowledge or specialized experience. So let's say, for example, a scientist, let's say biologist, needs specialized data using specialized instruments to observe things in order to even like start thinking. But Adler held that with philosophy, then it should be something that draws upon the same pool of experience that everybody has, just from being a human being and living for 15, 20 years, So that's really where philosophy should be grounded in. Which is not to say that there are abstract areas of philosophy, but you're saying like that's not the philosophy that is relevant. That Socrates was talking to everybody,
right.
Not just talking to like professional philosophers.
How intense is the reading like in the second series? Like is it like
some of it is still intense, but like it's doable, yeah. And then some of them are written for explicitly, like Aristotle for Everybody is a book he wrote for even children, not like fifth graders, but like 12, 13-year-olds. Yeah. Okay. Isaac, you wanted to say an idea?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think both people are making they're making both types of mistakes where, we're talking like, the like higher level to someone who's lower or like low level to someone who's higher.
Yeah.
Is a mistake of, I think the mistake is you think what you're saying is just the thing.
Yes.
And then like the audience is a separate thing. But
yeah.
But like the way that you say it is part of what you're saying. It's not just like the content.
Yes. Okay, good. I think that's a good basic mistake. Let me just show you the again, it's hard to not go into maybe English stuff, rhetorical triangle. See if this comes up on my stuff. Nope. Oh, yep. Is this my version or is this? Okay, well, if I can't get it, then slow computer. No, that is not at all what I was looking for. Okay. Anyway, so there are three aspects of communication. There's the speaker, the content, and the audience. And in order to be an effective communicator, you have to factor all of them into account and tailor the message properly. And so what Isaac is saying is basically that. Well, okay, I think that actually, hold on a second here. I think the mistake can come from two directions. Either you're focusing on just the content, and let's say in this case of talking to the Ksil, you're saying, well, the content that I'm speaking is intelligent, so that should be enough, as if the content can go directly into the minds of whatever audience you're talking about. So he's not tailoring it appropriately. The other mistake is, well, I'm speaking words of intelligence, which might be the your words type thing, like that this is stemming from like, there are people who just like, let's say like a well-meaning, the classic mistake teachers make when they first start teaching, some make for their whole careers, is that they genuinely want to tailor the content to the audience, but they just don't really realize how much they're taking for granted and how much they need to unpack the statement for the people who they're talking to in specific, So like they're just assuming that the other people are on their level,
You have to dumb it down more.
Yeah, right. And maybe dumbing it down, I mean, is a loose way that we say it, but like, it might not be dumbing down. It might be that they're missing a premise that like you don't have, or let's say again, I know I always rail against this. I'm going to rail against this publicly until it changes. When people give a Dvar Torah on Friday night, then translate every single word, okay? Because there are people in the audience who don't understand all the jargon that we in yeshiva use, and if you don't care about those people, okay, fine, you're entitled to not care about those people, but I just think it's always a tragedy when, we have great chachamim who speak here, and if they don't I remember there's one event in the last couple of years that someone's non-religious family came in from outside, and like this was their exposure to the yeshiva, and like the person who gave the Dvar Torah just spoke jargon and like for a half an hour, and just like I was feeling sorry for like this is their exposure to it's just like it's just a waste of opportunity, and so easy to just translate you need a certain and again I have an advantage in this regard because I came into Judaism late, being one of these people who didn't understand stuff. So I feel like I sometimes am overly sensitive to the fact that there are people who don't understand what's being said. Same reason why I know people say it and they don't mean it. It really upsets me when people say everybody knows blank, everybody knows the midrash where, now if you're in a room where like everybody does know it, then you could say that. But like, if you are in a room where you don't know for sure that everybody knows it, it can really alienate people, and so there's a certain like rachamim that you need to have of, look, God. Okay, I'm ranting.
Go for it.
If God will describe himself as having body parts in order to accommodate people who are not on intellectual level to grasp a non-physical being, then certainly you can like translate your Hebrew and and talk to people and make sure that your words reach everybody, Yeah.
I thought it's actually a great example of the concept, because like, you're not necessarily going to be thinking that you're speaking into the ears of the Kal Hadas.
Yeah.
But if you're in a venue like getting up on Friday night, where there's people coming, it's not just like people that you've learned with and then that's exactly when you should be thinking about how is a Kal Hadas going to be hearing this?
Right, exactly, yeah. And again, I just want to clarify, there are limits, right? Like obviously you don't go up there and you say, it says in the Torah. Well, Torah is a document that's given to Moses, who there are limits, you don't have to like break down and pull out a dictionary and define everything, but
everybody knows what the Torah is.
Yeah, right. But but I'm just saying I'm commenting more on the process, that this should be on your radar and should inform what you decide to go to break down. And if it's and there are also cases where you don't have the time to do that, but you do have the time to translate a word, and it's just it's like everything, it's a cost benefit analysis, but yeah.
We can watch him speak this Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, I better hold myself to these standards. If I don't, then you better call me out, stand up and pound right on the spot and say,
a quick question.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get a better idea of a Ksil, just separate from the ideas right now.
Wait. The way Sadiq's
So-
using a Ksil right now, or the way we were the standard Mishlei?
In general. In general.
Okay, in
I just
general,
wanna
yeah.
just
Because you
fact-
realize that's not who we're talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're backtracking on another.
Yeah,
okay,
I just
okay.
wanted to know, a Ksil in general, are they the type of people who would kind of like distort us and then distort like a true idea to benefit themselves?
Yes. Yeah. They're going to warp an idea to accommodate their own type of pursuits.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one more point about the translating thing.
Sure.
I've been in shiurim where like I don't remember a specific term.
Yeah.
And like, you know, or like a couple of terms and like lots of like terms being done and not translated once.
Yeah.
Then like I've had to ask, and it's like so mortifying to have to do, because it's like, oh, like there's like a feeling of like, oh, I don't know anything. And
Right.
it's like, you know, it's not hard to do. You know?
Right. It's not. Yeah. One other point also, just again, just another AP English point is that there are two audiences whenever you're talking to an audience. There's what's called the immediate audience and then the mediated audience. The immediate audience is the people who you are talking to right now. The mediated audience is people who may listen to this or get the communication at some other time. So let's say in this example, these shiurim that I'm giving in Mishlei right now are for you guys who are in the room right now. The one person is on Zoom, and for the people who listen, who regularly listen to the Mishlei content. Now, it is possible that someone will stumble upon this and will listen to it and will not understand certain premises that we have. They're not the intended audience, you know. So, like, I don't have to try to accommodate for anybody who's ever going to listen to this ever, you know. And for that reason, let's say when I'll use an example of the highest level of shiur that I've heard, like when Rebbe would give a Shavuot shiur, you know, sometimes you have to wonder, like it really is, it's not for everybody. Like he's really talking to the Talmidei Chachamim in the room, you know, and if you don't understand it, that's not a failing on his part, because this is not for you, you know. It's expected. Yeah, right. You know, so like it's again, I'm not saying that everyone has to accommodate for everybody, and I think that's the direction that, like, I mean, not to go into another rant, but that's the whole absurdity of certain, like, you know, progressive stances that are taken now of like, you don't want to say anything in a way that could possibly alienate anybody ever for any reason, you know, like
utopia.
Yeah, like it's insane because it's impossible, you know. Yeah, anyway, yes.
Are we ready for another one?
Yes. You want one? Or do you have one? I mean,
I have.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So maybe you can say that that it's talking about the person giving the intelligence and the receiver. It could do harm on the person giving it over, and it could definitely do harm on the person who's hearing it.
Yeah. And
I kind of wanted to say that you're trying to convey, and I think it's very similar to what we were saying already.
Yeah.
You're trying to convey an idea to him. But if you don't really know who you're talking to, I mean, first of all, he's a Ksil, right? And that's why I asked you, like, a Ksil kind of will take what you say and try to manipulate it to justify what he wants to do and his desires, and ultimately he'll if you're not like a tzaddik, or if you're not someone who's able to withstand these crazy objections to your own ideas, that he could convert you into his belief system.
Right. Yeah, that's
it's
true,
a little different, but
I think it's related to what we were describing in the first idea, which is that you yourself are in danger. But you're just pointing out that you're in danger. We were saying you're in danger because of the mockery. You're saying you're in danger because he could distort it.
Yeah, because you're only adding fuel to his fire.
Right.
You're like, at a certain point, if you don't know how to talk.
Oh, I'll give you an example of this. So this probably happened to all of us at some point. That like you are trying to convey a sophisticated thing, and the other person strawmans your argument, right? The other person oversimplifies it, and then suddenly you find yourself engaged in a war to try to like argue against the version of your idea that he's like presenting, as opposed to formulating the idea on your own terms. Like it's very easy to get dragged into that where you're fighting like a shadow version of your idea instead of the actual or what opposition to a shadow version of your idea. Okay. Yeah.
Another approach to it.
Okay, sure.
So we were talking about how either the ears can be that you're directly talking to him or talking and he's passively hearing.
Yeah.
So in terms of the active, right? So, and also on the idea of that it's your words.
Yeah.
So like if you're talking into the ears, like in an advisory role, like you're trying to instruct this person,
Yeah.
and then they're Ksil, and so then they're going to completely rebel against whatever it is that you're saying.
Yeah.
So because you've created this relationship, now people external to you see that you're an advisor to this person, and then see his actions as a result of your advisement.
Yeah.
They don't know, they can't differentiate between what he's doing and what you're saying.
Yeah.
All they see is the action.
Right.
So the intelligence of your words
That's a good
is going
point.
to be seen by everybody
Okay.
who has no idea exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
They're just seeing the results of your advisement
Yeah.
as like this person is telling this person to do absolutely crazy things, and he's a terrible advisor.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good and scary point for anyone who's in a position of an advisory role. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I should stop teaching forever now. So I want to actually do the Meiri's interpretation, which I think is not the same as what you're saying, but dovetails nicely with it, and then we'll compare and contrast. Meiri, very short explanation here, says Hanigle shiyarchik miyashivasam afla to altan. So he's saying that you should distance yourself from sitting with Ksilim even for their benefit. So he, I think, is taking the approach also of the not directly into their ears, but like just like even within their earshot. Ki lo yishmu elacha, they won't listen to you. Af ki yavuzu l'sefer milacha, and they will even disparage the intelligence of your words. V'husha amruzal. Kishem mitzvah lomar davar hanishma, kach mitzvah shlo lomar davar she'ino nishma. One of my favorite statements in Ksil about practically knowing when to speak and when not to. Just as it's a mitzvah to say something that will be listened to, so too it's a mitzvah to not say something that will not be listened to, right? Which is my understanding of the big reason why we don't implement the mitzvah of tochacha the way that the Torah commands nowadays, because of this concern. What do you say? What did you say something?
No.
Okay, then this next one's the one I was thinking about for Sean. Over there, Nister, he's here Gamkin Hachacham, Shlola Hashpia Chachmas Talmid Bilti Hagun Venaos. So this is a warning to a Chacham to not give over his Chachma to a student who's not proper and fit. And I don't know if he means, I think just whenever we talk about Talmid Hagun, I think we usually mean midos wise, because then he will do violence to the Chachma. And it turns out the Chacham will be throwing pearls in front of swine. I don't know if you ever heard that expression. That's one that made it into like the modern day idioms. Don't cast pearls in front of the swine. So unclear why he's saying what he's saying. The consequence will be, but I think it does fit into what you're saying. Is if you are it does go with every advisory role. But let's say like you're a Rebbe and you're teaching students. And the students are going out and either misimplementing your advice or ignoring it while like still identifying as a student of yours, then all people will see is the result, and they'll attribute this to the quality of what you're teaching them. Like again, I'm sure this happened to Rabbi Akiva, right? Rabbi Akiva had 24,000. I was thinking of 24,000, 2,400. Yeah, 12,000 pairs of students who all went bad, right? And I'm sure he was culpable to a certain extent, but like the point is that it was a reflection of Rabbi Akiva's Torah, in people's eyes, even if it wasn't actually like representing the true things that he taught. Yeah, and that's like in the Rambam in the Halacha in the Rambam about if you teach Torah to I'm not going to read it. If you teach Torah, I am going to read it. Yeah, of course. It's just this is really slow for some reason today. It's been slow lately. Got to figure that out.
Yeah, my internet last night was horrible.
Oh yeah, I think this is my computer. My computer has been slowing down a bit. It's the Satan. Okay, it is. Not Deus. Talmud Torah Dalid. Don't teach words of Torah. Only teach words of Torah to a Talmid who is either like proper, na'ad b'masav, which means beautiful in his actions, or latam, or to someone who's like neutral, evenly keeled. About im haya holech b'derech lo tova, but if he's going on a bad path, machzir naso lemutav, you should return him to the good. Umanhigim oso b'derech yeshara, and guide him on the good path. Ubodhin oso, and then test him. check him. The achach machnis also the beis midrash umalam also. And then you bring him to the beis midrash and teach him.
How do you test them?
That's a good question. The marshmallow test. Yeah, no. Amru chachamim kol hashomim l'talmid she'eino hagun ki'ilu zarek evan l'merkulis. Chachamim say anyone who teaches a talmid who's not proper in his actions, it's as if he threw a stone to Merculus. That was the god that they would worship by throwing stones at it. Shnemar kitzur evan b'margema kain nosin ksil l'ksil kavod, as it says, someone who loads a sling, like a slingshot sling. So is someone who gives a ksil honor of in kavod el Torah, and kavod only refers to Torah. Shnemar kavod chachamim chalo. Yeah, we did. Yeah. And I don't remember what we said. Yeah, because we did.
I remember a couple of things that we said.
Yeah.
Remember, I think it was Sean's idea that when you with like a sling, you can like point in a direction, but you don't really know where it's gonna end up. So that's like part of the happening is that like you think like, oh, I know like what's gonna happen if I talk to this guy or if I give like him cover, like I know like I can point him, right?
Yeah.
But you never really know like when
Interesting.
How far to go, like where to go.
I have no recollection, but yeah. I do want to say this is another version of the mistake that you were talking about, which is I think people do feel there's a certain feeling that this is Torah, and Torah will eventually like make everyone better, and not realizing like, no, there are people who you don't give Torah to because it's either going to harm them by their rejection of it or harm other people by them misrepresenting it or harm you as a source of Torah by like the way that it ends up going. Yeah.
There's a Rביnu Yona where he says like he compares like a chacham to like a nadir, like a generous person. Yeah. That just as like the generous person doesn't just like scatter his money and doesn't so like a chacham just like he doesn't scatter his money, but instead he gives in a place like to a person and like at a time that he thinks is like makes sense to do it. So too chacham is going to only like is only going to give his chachma to a person at a time that he thinks makes sense.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. Why am I in Bekius? I meant to be in Mishlei. It's funny you should mention that because we did a pasuk in chapter 11 which says the exact opposite, right? Which is Yesh mefazer v'nosaf od v'chosech miyosher ach l'machzor. There is someone who scatters and gains even more, v'chosech miyosher, but one who restrains himself out of properness or uprightness will only lose, right? So there we said, actually, this is one when I was still typing summaries this year for that brief period.
What did we do this?
We did this on a Monday night. Yeah.
Why don't I remember that pasuk? Was it that
you there? You were there.
Yeah, I think you were there. Hold on, I want to read the summary that we had. Oh, so slow. So just background. Mefazer means to like to give indiscriminately. Okay. And so we said giving indiscriminately could be two things. It could be quantitatively or in terms of the recipient. What number was that? 11 24. Thank you. Oh no. Come on.
It's broken.
Come on. No, you just found it. Don't tell me you can't find it. Okay. We said that. Oh. Okay. Well, we said it works for both, right? So we'll read the shot. There's one who scatters and gathers more, but one who refrains from uprightness will only lose. There are laws and principles which tell us how we should give tzedakah, but following these guidelines is not always the best way to achieve yosher, which is character development. There are cases in which, wait a minute. No, this is the one. Yeah, here we go. There's one who scatters and gathers more, but one who withholds out of uprightness will only lose. The second half of the pasuk describes someone who insists on only doing the perfect act of tzedakah, whether out of pure motives or in the best halachic manner, or when the money will be put to the best uses, or whatever other standard of perfection they insist upon. In contrast, the person in the first half of the pasuk abides by the principle of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and allows himself to give freely and imperfectly. imperfectly. The results speak for themselves. The first person will end up giving a lot more tzedakah than the second person. The same is true in regards to knowledge. Those who teach freely will benefit themselves and others in innumerable ways, whereas those who refrain from teaching based on various excuses, even legitimate ones, will lose out in their own learning and deprive others of knowledge. Now, this does go against what we just said, but I think that's not a problem because, like we just said earlier, the Mishlei is giving you tools for your toolkit, or tool belt, if you prefer to carry all your tools on your belt. And the trick is to know when to use which tool, So like, on the one hand, you need to be aware of the fact that like in general, being free with your knowledge and not just saying like, well, I'm only going to teach when I have like perfected the idea and like, I only have the perfect students and stuff like that. Like you have to realize that that's going to harm your learning. But on the other hand, you have to realize that not all knowledge is for all people at all times in all situations, and like there could be bad things there also. So like it's a balance.
Can you scroll down to see who?
That one, I believe it was Ayala and Zach. I think I just didn't. Yeah, the first one was Rifki, but yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you had a really hard day. Okay.
Yes,
Let's do, yeah. Should we do one more? Who could we do? Let's do Rבינו Yona. I think it's kind of the same. Let's see. Bozek also daber ki avuz l'sag milacha. Lefi shehiskir ki ha'ish asher libo etzev yihiu alav hadvarim lamasa. So just as it mentioned that the guy whose heart is in pain, what was the last one we did? What kind of guy? This is the miser, right. So he's begrudging you. He doesn't want you. And Rבינו Yona had the idea of like, he's projecting onto you that of course this guy's not going to take what I offer him, right? Because it pains him. So that guy, then your words will be a burden to him, right? If you're trying to like say good, valuable things. Kumot sar ha'ayin be'esh yachil achim, right? Like a miser when he's feeding others. Malkain ein laharich imo b'dvarim. Therefore, you shouldn't go on at length with words with him. Ba lahasir gam kein shelo yidaber adam ba'oznei ksil b'divrei chachma. So too, you should not speak in words of chachma in the ears of ksil. By the way, you notice he substitutes seichel for chachma, right? He also doesn't care about what the particular is. Ki lo yahavim, he won't love them. V'yavuz lahem, and he'll despise them. Ulchavod hachachma. That's a different point. Due to the kavod of chachma, you shouldn't speak its matters except in the ears of someone who will love them and cherish them. And it says in the works of Musar, and they quote that same pasuk, don't be like people who throw pearls in front of swine. So we've said that this could be harmful for the ksil, and it's harmful for the listeners and harmful for you. We haven't spoken about how it's harmful for chachma. Right, so that's an interesting thing also, which is that you can ruin the esteem of chachma by dispersing it to audiences that will not respect it. And ultimately, obviously, that's going to harm the three parties that we just mentioned. But I think thinking of it in terms of the chachma is what the mashal is getting across. That if you throw pearls in front of swine, the pearls get all dirty. Like it ruins the thing itself. In addition to the fact that the pig's not going to do anything with the pearls. Except maybe eat them by mistake. Yeah. Right. So out of the and that might also be what the Rambam was saying with the kavod. They have to be mindful of the kavod of the Torah. That you only give kavod to people who are deserving of it. Yeah. Okay. Good ideas. Nice. It's nice to have a simple Mishlei Pasuk every once in a while. Even though, and the ideas are just as high quality, but like that was I feel like it was but the Pasuk is like I feel like a lot of these other psukim I won't remember the ideas from, but this one, because it's almost as if the idea of a proverb is to make like a simple, easy to remember thing, Yeah, but most of them, a lot of them are not like that. Okay, so tomorrow we will go on to another boundary moving pasuk. He says, yeah. Alrighty, have a good day.